Now to campaign 2006. Today, all 5 candidates for U.S. Senate faced off in a debate hosted by Channel 3 at the Bushnell. And moderator Bob Schieffer had a front row seat to everything that went on. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Dan Kane had a chance to sit down with them and find out what he thinks about one of the most important races in the country. Dan's joining us now live with the mobile newsroom at the Bushnell with the story. Dan?
Well, Bob Schieffer has seen political candidates for office come and go since the days of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, so you could say he's pretty much seen it all. He characterized today's meeting of the candidates as a good meeting of the minds. In his opening remarks, Mr. Schieffer noted that this is one of the most hotly contested races and one of the most pivotal races for Senate in the country.
And this was a very interesting one. I've never moderated one with so many candidates, and that was the real challenge here, you know. But you did get a wide array of views, I thought. I thought it was conducted with real dignity, and I think it's a real public service.
Schieffer says it's not easy keeping all the candidates in line, keeping time, and following the arguments. Did you learn anything today?
Well, I'm fairly familiar with all these issues, but I thought it was interesting to get the various viewpoints because you really got them all. I mean, you had Senator Lieberman here who says, look, we can't turn around and walk off from Iraq. You had other candidates said that's exactly what we ought to do. And that pretty well, I mean, reflects the spectrum of opinions across the country right now. Most people, a majority of people now believe that we should figure out some way to leave, but there's a large number of people who say we've got to stay the course, as the president says.
Schieffer also said this is one of the races that has caught the nation's attention.
It looks to me like at this point, I think if the election were held today, I think Republicans would lose control in the House. I think the Senate is still very much up for grabs.
And you'll note that he said if the election were held today, and as you know, the election's still a couple weeks off, and in politics, as they say, that is an eternity. We're live in Hartford with the mobile newsroom. Dan Kane, Channel 3, Eyewitness News.
And again, you can see the debate in its entirety tomorrow night at 7 p.m. right here on Channel 3. You can also stay tuned to our Campaign 2006 coverage online at WFSB.com.
Now to the Senate showdown in the second round of verbal combat in the nationally watched race.
It may be nationally watched, but almost no one got to see it today because it was held in a closed auditorium with no live television, radio, or even the internet. Chief political correspondent Mark Davis was allowed in and joins us live from our Hartford newsroom to describe some of the highlights. Give it to us, Mark.
Yeah, good evening, Ann and Ted. Good evening, everyone. They did talk about Iraq, no surprise there, and they also talked about oil prices with both Ned Lamont and Republican Alan Schlesinger taking on Joe Lieberman and taking him to task for supporting an energy bill that they say opens up Long Island Sound to that big gas barge project. And they also sparred again on Social Security.
Democrat Ned Lamont got a warm welcome at a campaign event at the Yukon Law School in Hartford today. Republican Alan Schlesinger made several campaign stops, including a senior center in West Hartford. Senator Joe Lieberman had no campaign events today, only his preparation for the debate. The sponsoring television station wouldn't allow us to show you the debate because they are holding it for broadcast until tomorrow night. This debate included all 5 candidates, the Concerned Citizens Party and the Green Party candidate. But as was the case in the last debate, it was Republican Alan Schlesinger who seemed to have the best lines, like when he talked about Social Security, saying, quote, I say we repeal congressional pensions and put the Congress into Social Security like the rest of us, which was met by sustained applause. There is no money in the Social Security Trust Fund. It's a cruel hoax. We have to start putting money away, close quote. Lamont continued his attack on the issue, saying, quote, Senator Lieberman has been on both sides of Social Security. He was for privatization, then he was against. I think we need to be clear with the American people. We're going to be here to fight for Social Security. It's a guaranteed benefit, close quote. Lieberman again reiterated that he no longer supports privatization, saying, quote, Social Security is probably the best thing the federal government has ever done. I disagree over whether it's real money in the Social Security Trust Fund. There is. Are there IOUs? There are, because the federal government is in deficit. That's why I support pay-as-you-go government, close quote.
One of the things that did not come up, surprisingly, one of the biggest news stories in the country and the world this week, that bill that the president signed yesterday granting the president authority to interpret what torture is, which Senator Joe Lieberman supported and Senator Chris Dodd opposed. They know likely will be asked about it at the next debate. Live from the Hartford newsroom, Mark Davis, News Channel 8.